In 1873, Jules Verne published his novel Le Tour du Monde en 80 jours. In it, an adventurous and entrepreneurial English businessman bets half of his fortune claiming that he can travel around the world in 80 days. A feat that, until then, was never performed in the history of man. From London to Suez, Suez to Bombay, Bombay to Calcutta, from there to Hong Kong, Yokohama, Yokohama to San Francisco, and on to New York, and finally from New York back to London. It was an adventure that spanned the world, forcing the hero Phineas Fogg to use every exotic means of travel to complete this journey. And as a story, it traveled the world, sparking the imagination of millions. And that imagination has brought us further than Phineas Fogg or even Jules Verne himself could have ever imagined. Inspired by Jules Verne's great legacy and the amazing race of Phineas Fogg around the world, sailors came up with a great idea to push technology and innovation. A great but simple challenge: to build the fastest ship humans have ever made and race it around the world faster than humans have ever done before. And so, the Trophée de Jules Verne was born. Now, in order to keep the contest as open and innovative as possible, it was decided that the boats could be any size, the crews could be any size, and any design was welcome, so long as the goal was to round the globe in less than 80 days or best the latest record. Set by Francis Joyon on Idexport in 2017 of 40 days, 23 hours, 30 minutes and 30 seconds. It is, by all accounts, an almost unbelievable achievement. But now, in 2020, 3 new teams are waiting at the starting line to see if they can round the world in less than 40 days. The new competitors are Sodibo Ultim 3, the Maxi Edmund de Rothschild, better known as Gitana, and Spindrift 2. Will they go on to make history?
That is the question. Hello everybody and welcome to the show. Sorry I'm a little late today. I had an itsy-bitsy underestimated how long it took to montage that intro, but I hope you liked. That's what backers and patrons are for, I guess. And I hope that you have something delicious with you, because we obviously have a lot to talk about. So are we ready? Are we ready? 3, 2, 1, here we go. Amazing. Okay, so today we're going to talk a little bit more about the Trophée Jules Verne and of course Arkea Paprec, another case of a UFO Sophni hit today, severely damaging the rudder and the rudder system. So we'll get into that. Also, of course, Kevin Escoffier now safely, completely rescued. So all good news there. I mean, let's get into it. So let's start with unfortunately bad news. Sebastian Simon of Arkea Paprec ran into a UFO or Sophni, and as far as we know now, rather large amount of damage. One of his rudders more or less completely destroyed, and the foil on one side is either maybe still a little bit attached, but detached for a large part, so maybe semi-attached but no longer really working. That's as much details as we know right now. And as far as him quitting the race or what is happening right now, he is communicating with the shore team to see if they can find a solution. But apparently the damage is so severe, and there is also water ingress because of the breakage, that he has heeled the boat over as much as possible to prevent the water from one side floating in. We don't exactly know if he's setting a specific course for anything in order to retire from the race. There's nothing known about that at the moment of shooting this, but it does look very, very serious. And with the loss of a rudder, and also the fact that we have again a giant storm system coming into the area where they are right now, with similar situations as the situation where Kevin Escoffier was rescued by Sebastian Simon and the other four guys, Jean Le Cam, etc. When he has his damage almost 2 days ago now. So this is quite a dangerous situation again for Sebastian Simon, and we'll have to wait and see what happens. Personally, I think that the chance that this will lead to another retirement in the race are fairly large, but never say never, and maybe they are able to patch it up and have him continue the race with linked out, for example, now with a shorter foil or something like that. Nobody really knows the full extent of the damage, so we'll have to wait and see. Then for some fortunately very good news, because passing the Cape of Good Hope has always been a milestone for sailors around the world, and many of the head group of the Vendee have in the last 20 hours or so past the Cape of Good Hope. So here on the screen you can actually see, of course, Apivia. We have here Bura Vallée d'Eu and linked out past it a little earlier, kind of yesterday night, but now also Jean Le Cam, we have Boris Herman, we have Maître Kok, Yannick Besthaven, Group Apicil. Of course, here we have Arkea Paprec, so we just talked about that. Let's hope he's okay, but he has passed the Cape of Good Hope. We have also Omnia Water Family here, Benjamin Dutroux. We have Psisian Group, Giancarlo Pedate, and we have Initiative Skur, Sam Davis, and finally we have Massif, Isabel Jonchko, who is not quite there yet, but who no doubt will literally, I think, in an hour or so also pass the Cape of Good Hope. So really awesome news, and of course the rest of the fleet here quick on their heels. We have Maxime Sorel, we have Romain Atanasio, and also Bank Populaire, so that's Clarice Kramer here, right behind them. All of them more or less half a day away from the Cape, and that consists of basically the entire head group. So with just half a day of extra time, literally all of them will have past this. And behind them we have the second group, which of course also has Pip Hare in the back there, and she also actually now I think probably maybe 2 days away, maybe 2.5 from the Cape of Good Hope also, and definitely entered the Southern Ocean now. So really massive achievements there, and despite the fact that we are seeing some serious damage now, it is cool to notice that it looks like absolutely all of the boats, at least this year, this edition, are going to make it to the Southern Ocean. So Charal, as you can see now, very close to the aft group, to Merci there, and to Stark, Arie Heusela. I think he'll need maybe a day more and then he'll catch up. So then Charal will actually be in the fleet again, and we'll have at this point more or less 5 or 6 days between the leader Apivia and Charal right now. So that's not a whole lot of space. There's still lots possible in the race. It's not over by any stretch, and Jeremy Bijou is making absolutely great time. So that's something that's also really, really cool to see. Then let's take a look at the situation in the Jules Verne Trophy, or the Trophée de Jules Verne. Because as we discussed in an earlier episode, so Gitana, Edmund the Rothschild, has unfortunately suffered some breakage to one of the foils, and they decided to retire in the race because they felt that they couldn't, push the boat at its maximum, and since it's a record race, there's not really much point in going on then. But Sodimu Ultimate 3 is still on the way and doing very well. As you can see here, you can see the old record IDIC Sport right there by Francis Joyan, and you can see the new Thomas Cavil on board his Sodimu Ultimate 3, and right now they seem to be considerably ahead of the record. Of course, the race is still very, very long, and anything can happen. But so far, very impressively, everything looks really good in the race. And you can also see, as for the weather prediction here, that right now it looks like they have, good wind to kind of, follow their way into the Southern Ocean. And also interesting, of course, to note their placement next to what is happening in the Vendee, because right now they're more or less at the same latitude as Charal is. So can you imagine, left later, but have now caught up with the Vendee Globe race, and probably over the next probably 10 days or so, they will, if they continue the race the way they want to, they will more or less make their way all the way up to Apivia and actually pass the race. Let's make a note of it, 10 days from now, and we'll see what happens. That's more or less my prediction anyway. But, very, very exciting that these two races are now actually meeting. That's why I thought it would be fun to, put a little bit more attention on it today. So, yeah, let's check out what the weather will bring for the races over the next few days. So here we are in Vendee tracking the race. So Jules Verne more or less here, in a similar position to Charal, and the rest of the race, we can see here. And let's start with the front of the group. So what's going to happen there? As you can see, this big storm coming through, and unfortunately, so the boat that is most to the south here, this here, is Arkea Paprec with Sebastian Simon, and unfortunately it looks like he's going to be the first to really get more of this storm kind of blowing him more to the east and to the north. Not too seriously, but he's kind of in the worst of it for the next 4 hours or so, and then that's going to move more to the east, fortunately. So that's kind of nice. And after that, let's see what will happen, because more likely than not, we're going to see another system build over here and come up, although that doesn't seem to be the case right now. So that's rather advantageous. This is Friday, so let's stop there. And what we see is that more or less, again, Apivia will probably run with the prize, because if we go back to the moment right now, we see that he is in the best wind and kind of ahead of the storm. And then as time progresses and the storm moves on, he'll be able to avoid the worst of it, but he has a really nice kind of connection to this second storm system that's located a little bit more to the east, and looks like he'll be able, I don't think he'll go actually this far north as the projection is showing. I think he'll sail more close to the white line, to the ice line there. But you can see here that those two systems really beautifully connect, and that he'll just be able to kind of follow his line here and then make the dive. That's probably what he will do, more deeper into the Southern Ocean in order to keep the shortest track. So the reason for that is, the more you go towards the pole, the shorter, of course, the route around the world, and also in general, the stronger the wind. So, to whoever takes the more risk, likely the prize. That's very much the psychology of the Vendee and also of the Jules Verne, the same thing. So the more south they can go, the more dangerous, but the greater the chance that they have the biggest speed and the shortest route, and therefore will win. And so basically this whole system, no matter how you slice it, looks really good for Charlie Dalin on Apivia. I think if he plays his card right, he has the perfect recipe here to keep running forward and really extend his lead. And same goes for linked out. So a little bit different position, as you can see, but similar for him. As the weather progresses, he'll have a little bit more of that storm in his back. So he might go a little bit north in order to avoid the worst, although I think he's probably also going to stay as south as possible, and then is also likely able to make kind of that connection with that next system there, and basically stay in the wind and kind of go around that kind of bend there in the ice exclusion zone and make his way more down, keeping him also on a very short route and giving him basically perfect wind, so 25 to 30 knots basically the whole way. Strong sailing, strong waves, strong seas, but pretty much the perfect conditions as far as it comes to this part of the race in the Southern Ocean. Now let's also look a little bit at the back and the middle of the race. So as you can see here, we have them all, and yeah, the weather, this is the situation right now. And so the group that has a medallia in it here are basically now trying as hard as they can to make their way to the east and stay ahead of this system here, which is also slowly easting, and that should give them a really nice ride basically all the way to the Cape, and this kind of little doldrum ahead of them should move also to the north and to the east, giving them more or less, as you can see, excellent access into the Southern Ocean there. So that whole group should basically be fine, and I think they'll be having more or less 25 to maybe 30 knots for the rest of the way, all the way to the Cape. So basically perfect conditions for them as well. And then if we look at the back of the fleet, so basically where Charal is now, so this entire group, beautiful sailing right now, as you can see, nice downwind, about 15 to 20 knots, so a little less wind. And yeah, they better hurry because they do have a bit of a low wind situation there developing to the east and slightly northern of them, with some run-ins into the system. So if you zoom in a little bit, you can see that they have some patches of no wind, and they have this kind of doldrum between the warmer system and the colder system here that they don't want to cross. So they kind of want to go slowly past that, but they don't want to go through that if possible. And so yeah, they are likely going to have some pretty patchy wind, sometimes dropping down to maybe almost no wind at all, 5, 6, maybe 7 knots, and then sometimes kicking in again up to as much as 20 knots. And they're going to have at least 2 to 2.5 days more of that before they kind of get to a place where hopefully, so that'll be about Saturday, where this new system here develops, and then basically they'll have to run like hell to make their way to the east in order to stay away from that, because look at how this develops from Saturday. So this is Saturday onto Sunday. The positions for Pip Hare and stuff are not correct bound now, by the way. And yeah, as you can see, that has the potential to really move into their way, let's say. So if they can stay on the top of that system, they'll have a nice ride, but that's probably going to move up a little bit as they go to Cape Horn, and it is really a massive storm. So they probably want to be either ahead of that or behind that as they pass the Cape. But that's still 7 or 8 days away, so we'll deal with that when that happens. And that, incidentally, is also kind of the weather prediction for Sodibo, of course, in the Trophee Jules Verne. So Sodibo right now is more or less, I don't have it here in the windy map, but it's more or less in a similar position, a little bit more to the east actually than Charal. And as they make their way down, they're also going to try to kind of use this green gallery here to make their way down. Now they're a lot faster, so they can go up to 50, sometimes over 50 knots if they want. Incredibly fast boats, and also in light winds, so 15 to 20 knots. These catamarans can really rip in this type of downwind situations. So I think they'll actually make it through. They'll have some patchy weather, but within about 2.5 days they will just make it down more or less to the location here where Time for Oceans is right now, I think. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens. So that is my analysis for today. Hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe. Make sure to hit the bell icon. If you want to know more, if you want to support or get some of our amazing t-shirts, hoodies, and all this type of really cool Sea Wolves stuff, go to seawolvestv.com. Thank you all very much. Like that intro today, I can only do that because you guys are supporting me, giving me more time to work on this stuff. So please keep doing that. It really helps. And I'll see you tomorrow.